Hello, my name is Brittany D. I am a psychic medium and spiritual teacher. My divine purpose is to assist in the expansion of the collective consciousness and to help you become more connected with the divine. This is a space to remember all that you truly are and ignite the possibilities of your highest potential. Hello, 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 and thank you so much for being here with me in this present now moment. I am so excited. Today we have Miss Nicky with One Cosmic Love on the podcast, and we are going to be talking about Christ consciousness and alchemy. Probably one like my two favorite things to talk about. So this is going to be great. And I love Nicky to pieces. I'm so excited for you guys to meet her. She is a beautiful, beautiful shining light in this world. And we are all blessed to have her. So hello, Nicky, and thank you so much for being here.
It is my pleasure. Hi. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it. I think in talking about Christ consciousness, I think that it's kind of important to bring to light that we all kind of have this different view of what that is because we're all perceiving differently. So, just on a simple basis, what is Christ consciousness to you? Like, what does that mean? How do you incorporate that in your life?
Let's see. In a simple way, Christ consciousness is literally just like embodying non-judgment, embodying that aspect of unconditional love. And to me, it's also like having that sense of magic, having a little like perception of like everything is quite magical, even the mundane things. And it is about our perception. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, how do you incorporate that like into your life? Like let's say, going through a day in Nicky's world, how would you because a lot of listeners are wanting to know how to incorporate that into their lives. And so by being a shining light, by being an example, just being and existing helps, but like also breaking it down and being like, this is what I do. Here's how I incorporate this into my reality, I think is super helpful.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think coming from a place of wanting to be of service over, just wanting other things. It's like really just coming from that heart space of, how can I serve today? Even if it's just waving to the neighbor that never smiles at you.
Right.
Like I see you every day on your Instagram, just like shining light. Like what are 3 things you're grateful for?
Right.
Like, that's, to me, being Christ consciousness in action. That's embodying it. Making your lover a cup of coffee just the way he likes it. Mm-hmm. It's simple things like that. It's not like some grand Jesus creating like bread loaves for thousands of people out of one. That can happen, and I think we're like getting close to that, some of us. But yeah, it's like the simple things, and two, it's like Christ was. Like if we just go off his like archetype or that story, it's like he was a human. So he struggled with maybe some worldly things. And, we don't really hear about that in the Bible or in the text. It's like, oh, he was just this perfect being. It's like, no, he had struggles too. He had fears that came up. But what did he do? He still put his faith and his trust in that higher power, in that source connection. So Christ consciousness is like, I think so many of us are already being it. We're just so conditioned that we're not able to accept and receive that we are already Christ consciousnesses.
Right. Exactly. Yes. And it's like shedding that programming, kind of like we were talking about, alchemizing that, recognizing it.
Yes, that's huge right now. Is
Yeah.
the programming coming up.
Oh my gosh.
We have such a big opportunity as a humanity right now to
Massive.
really look at our programming. I mean, we're in the crux of deprogramming from this sort of matrix life that we've been indoctrinated into. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
we're doing it. We out here.
I know, right? And I love how you talk about how it's just like all the little things. So I just had a retreat, and we had the integration call last night, integrating the energies that we downloaded and received through that weekend. And a lot of the ladies on the call were like, I did not realize how it's really in the little things. Because what I did in my retreat, so I made them tap into my world. I was like, okay, we're going to wake up and we're going to journal, and then we're going to meditate, and then we're going to, and all those small practices, praying over our food and energizing our water when we filled up our, water bottles, and just all those things. And a lot of them, last night when they were sharing, they were like, I just didn't realize, everyone has this thing where it's got to be this big kaboom, or there's got to be this big shift or this big change. And it's like, no, it's about all those very small practices and all those very small moments where you think about the collective, or you think about being in presence and being with spirit. And, even though it sounds lame, but what would Jesus do? Like really,
Totally.
Yeah. Like really, like in every moment as much as possible, being in that. And so, it really roots from the little things. And that's why I do my best to do what I can, through social media and through, even these podcasts and whatever it may be, like doing my best to do my part to raise the vibration in the collective, because we are in such a potent time. And it's even, is it just me, or is it getting more potent? Like every single day, it's like, holy guacamole. Like I didn't think it could get any more potent. And it just keeps going that way.
Yep.
It's
and that's
wild.
because more and more of us are tapping into this frequency, this alignment space. And, coming deeper into love, really.
Which is a lot about self too. Like it's a lot about being in, loving yourself, because it is about the collective, but it's also you can't help anyone else. We are the
collective.
Right.
We have 50 trillion cells. Like people don't realize, like we're actually like an energy body that's like 50 trillion cells all coming together to make this form. And I was just watching this little Bruce Lipton video someone sent me about the quantum, like he was talking about something about like the quantum time machine, and they got in the DeLorean, like this car, right? And they're like pretending that they're going into the future, and they're like, we're in the fourth dimension right now. That's like what is happening on the planet right now. We are in the fourth dimension where it just looks chaotic. But really, it's just the shit is falling down.
Yeah, it's shedding.
And it just looks and feels like, whoa, because we are able to see the diversity. We're able to see all these things because we're freaking alchemizing it. We're alchemizing it. And we are there is like coming this structure that is going to be more in alignment with Mother Earth, more in alignment with love and unity. We just are in this, we're in the turning point. It's happening, and whoa.
Yeah, and it's going to be some time too. Like it's going to be, it's not going to happen
There's
overnight.
no such thing as time. Like we are kind of, it's, whole nother podcast.
Right? She's like, oh
but
gosh.
Really, it's like we were going to talk a little too about anchoring it in. We're in this like crazy time of change and flux. And there are people like us on the planet that know the mission is to hold the frequency. And no matter how hard it is sometimes because we're being pulled in this direction or triggered in this direction, it's so important to come back to that neutral space where we can be present with someone suffering. I read a quote today a girlfriend posted on her Instagram, and it was, "The alchemy of compassion is the willingness to be touched by suffering, to willingly feel fully what is here." So that's from Tara Brach.
And it's so important. So many people try and they run away. I actually have a whole podcast. What is that episode called? Spiritual bypassing.
Oh, that is such a grand subject. Seeing it all over right now. Oh, man. Wow.
Right? Yeah. And that's why as soon as it really started to spark up, I was like, okay, I got to do a podcast about this because people need to know so that way they can go ahead and get their tools together.
Absolutely.
And get
Thank
armored.
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, put the armor on, the armor of freaking awareness.
And gather the tools of what it means to face your feelings head on. Face, it all. It all is just a part of it. It's all. So I'm curious your perspective of, like, my personal belief is that this is happening either way. Like, it honestly doesn't really matter. It doesn't actually matter what I do because this is happening either way. Although I want to feed, unity, and because that's my calling and my mission. Right. Regardless of what I do, whether I go scream in the streets or whether I just sit at home and meditate, no matter what, this is happening. We are going to move. The Earth is moving into the fifth dimension, not me. I'm just moving with her is how I perceive it. Yeah. So what is your perception of that? Do you think that we have to take action in order for it to happen? Or do you think that it's going to happen either way?
Yeah, well, that's such an expansive question because there's so many different timelines that I could tap into right now. I agree, it's happening either way. Whether we are extinct in 50 years or if we have evolved to a harmonious, integrated lifestyle. So it is a little bit about kind of taking an action, but I don't think that action from motivation, oh my God, we're fucking scared, we got to change. It's whoa, there's something super magical going on right now. I'm feeling a part of something bigger than myself. Oh my God, I'm inspired. I'm going to write this book or do this podcast or create these videos to help people come on board or kind of gently hold their hand it's all, that's why I think we're in such an interesting time because it's a choice point. I think
it's going to continue to be, definitely. Yes. But it is so clear right now. It is just and you know what? I keep saying that and then it keeps getting more clear and it keeps getting more in my face. So that's what it feels like right now, but it's probably going to be even more potent in just a matter of some time.
But that's the beauty of magnification and what you focus on expands and what you think about, it truly does expand. So it's almost like everyone is living in their own individual reality.
Yes.
And
exactly.
Some of us are going to begin to come together and create that momentum of, whoa, bigger movement, bigger change. But all in all, it's our personal thoughts that's creating the shift.
Yeah, exactly. And how we're living and how we're acting and all those little things, like you said, that we're doing.
All the little things, yes. Those are really the important things. Not everyone's meant to be famous and be this big guru or whatever. It's never underestimate the power of one or two coming together. And we can even talk about sexual alchemy because that's another potent thing that's happening on the planet right now. Whoa, so many unions.
Oh my God.
Coming together.
Right.
And using this potent kundalini or creative energy, not to just create children and reproduce the species, but to actually use that sacred God force, Christ energy to intend the new earth, intend the harmony. Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I know that you are informed on Tantra. And we don't have to go too far down the rabbit hole. I know that's like its whole own episode itself. But I would love just a little bit of information. Yeah. Just a little chat.
A little tidbit.
Yeah, a little tidbit.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see where to begin. Tantra really began as like a sort of a self practice for me. As a child, like I was highly sexual, and I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially the woke group. So as a child, like very heightened sexual energy. And obviously that got suppressed through trauma and being raped as a virgin and all these like kind of horrific things that happened to us so that we can grow. So I started to wake up again sexually in my 20s. And I was like having these experiences that were sort of beyond my knowledge. And so it brought me to Tantra. And Tantra is not really what a lot of people think. It's like, oh, sex and Kama Sutra. Tantra is really using, to me, our sexual energy to rise up, bringing that energy up into Christ consciousness, not using it in these more like lower chakra ways of getting our needs fulfilled and pumping our ego up and all those other, like having control or power over our opposite sex or whatever, or same sex. So yeah, Tantra is a pathway of, to me, like super quick enlightenment, because that energy, the sexual energy, once we get rid of guilt and shame, which a lot of times is hindering that energy from expanding, we can go into these ecstatic states of bliss. Like we were just talking about yoni eggs, like that was one of the first practices I was using to awaken and heal those wounds inside the yoni. And if you don't know what yoni is, for the viewers, it literally means like your sacred space. So it's just a pretty way of saying vagina. So these tools like self-practice. And then once we really, and I'm still working on this because it's such a deep taboo subject and there are so many freaking layers to get through. But once we tap into that sexual sovereignty within ourselves and we can share that with partner, oh my God, like there's no force that can mess with that.
This. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's why I think the powers that be, or the powers that were, had a really sort of dominant control over sexuality. Like they, the programming we've seen around it, the porn, all these things that kind of diminish the sacredness of it. It's like, whoa, time to reactivate the sacred sexual energy. And that starts, with ourselves.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And then you know what I would say one more thing is like, because there's so much guilt and shame around this subject, to play with it, like have a childlike mindset about it. Like when you were a child, it wasn't wrong to feel those feelings. It wasn't wrong to like go onto the edge of the chair and be like, whoa, that feels good, until like someone told you like, no, don't do that. That's bad. So it's like coming back to your sexuality with that sort of childlike perception.
And exploration, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we can use that energy also to manifest. So looking at a vision board while you're like activating that pleasure code inside of you, and then everything sort of like, once you tap into that energy, life becomes quite blissful, because cooking your food, like you're in that sensual flow, like drink, how it is.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I've never,
you know what I just thought about though? I've used it for manifestation, but have you ever used it for alchemy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, big time.
I don't know why that, like, just now I was like, oh my gosh, why have I never used this for alchemy? But I've used it for many things, you know, but I've never, you know, intended like that I needed to alchemize this specific situation, and I'm going to use my sexual expansiveness to be of assistance to it. I got to try that now.
Yes. So I would like have a hard emotion or like a hard conversation that I needed to have. Dude, I would bring that to my playtime. I would bring that to my orgasm, and and focus on that. Like, I'm feeling like super disempowered, blah, 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 that story. I'm going to bring what I do want into that orgasmic state. And I'm telling you, it is quite like, I mean, it's unexplainable magic right there.
Yeah. Blissland.
Blissland.
Yeah.
And total sovereignty, like where you're not, it's power. And that's also why I think it's been suppressed, because it is the power source.
Okay. So now my mind's thinking about these different things that we've been suppressed about. Do you have any like concerns about New World Order or the Great Reset or anything like that? Like, does any of that, like, you're like, oh my gosh, like, that's going to happen, or they're trying to make that happen? Or are you like at peace with what has happened, what they're trying to do? And like, I know, you know, like you being sovereign in yourself is all you can do, or how do you feel about it? I'm kind of projecting how I feel a little bit.
Dude, no, if I said I was like okay with everything going on and I wasn't having struggles and fears and like past life traumas or something coming up, like I would be lying. No, but that's again, that's like, like going back to Christ consciousness, like Jesus like knew he was going to be put like whatever on the stake and killed. It's like, so no matter what, I feel it doesn't change the fact that moment to moment, it's like alchemize the fear, alchemize this, like whatever, what are we going to do? Like I do. And then now the censoring, and it's like layers upon layers. And I just continue to have that sense of hope. And maybe if more of us start having this sexual orgasmic power going on, like, and intending like towards these controllers. So it is kind of like a game, dude. Like we are in a video game.
Right.
So, but I'm not going to lie. Like, of course there's been moments where I'm like, oh shit. And then I go, oh, well, you know?
Yeah. And I think that everyone's path is so specific, and the divine, like how I see it is that like the divine is over the game, all of the whole game as a whole. So it's like, it's moving all of these parts as they're needed. And that's why like a huge part of my purpose is to connect you to your intuition and to your guidance, so that way you can get into what your little rut is, what your little path is, and navigate that, so that way you can be guided. And then that's another person on the cosmic team, you know, that's pulling everything together. Because when you don't have that consciousness and you don't have that awareness and you're not tapped in, then it's much easier for those forces that have been programming and have been controlling to have more weight over your consciousness.
Yeah.
And so I don't necessarily see it as switching teams. It's more switching like a switch within
switching
yourself.
On. It's like you're turning on like your truth, and you're turning off the program.
Right.
Oh, that's so big.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I'm so honored to like have, you know, for that to be a huge aspect of my purpose and my teachings.
Your unique offering to this planet. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for all of the, like, you really helped me on the Tantra road. Like, whenever I was first diving into that, it was like right whenever I met you. And like, even just this conversation just now, I was like, wow, I haven't even utilized my sexual expansion for a manifestation or anything recently. Like I've almost, you know how you like have practices, but you kind of like tether off.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's a good refresher, good reminder. I'm like, okay, that's probably about to go down tonight.
Yes. And with this full moon coming up on the 30th
Yes.
eclipse, great, potent.
How do you feel about the 21st?
Okay, I've been hearing little tidbits here and there, but I don't know much, to be honest. I just know that, like, looking at my personal microcosm reality, there has to be some shit.
Right?
Because, like, I'm like, dude, whoa, there is so much movement happening.
Right.
And like getting ready, like some preparation that I'm like, okay, intuition on, I feel something, I'm getting ready, but
Surrendered,
full surrender right now.
Yes. And it was kind of hard for me to move into, and I'm being really vulnerable right now, but it was kind of hard for me to move into that state of surrender because like I know that you know Jen's teachings, and she talked about the 144,000 ascended twin souls that, you know, ascended upon this planet to anchor Christ consciousness and all this stuff. And so I had this attachment to that being a huge twin union day, and there's going to be all these unions and blah, blah, and this whole thing. I really like, it's hard for me to own that, but it is the truth. Like I had this whole attachment with it. And then, you know, it was like, okay, maybe that does happen. Maybe it doesn't. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that I know, just like you said, in my personal reality, I am being prepared for something and I am shedding dramatically and raising like almost as if I'm going through another awakening. It seems like it reminds me of my very what is it? What's that called?
Dude, the card I pulled, the reawakening.
Yes, exactly.
It's a reawakening.
It really is. It really feels that way. And it's just the way that things are aligning and the way, you know, the way the energy, I'm like, there's gotta be something that's going on. There's gotta be something that's not, it doesn't feel like a myth to me. Like it feels like there's definitely, I don't know what's going to go down. I've already taken off work. I blocked off my schedule. I was like, I'm probably going to need meditation for like 6 hours.
Yeah. So what is the simple, what is it? Like, what is the astrology? What are people saying about this date?
Well, mostly just that we're going to get, in a simple way of putting it, is that we're going to become godlike or have godlike abilities. Like everyone, like swiped across the planet. It's like a mass awakening, all in a very, like the light codes go down each individual's Kundalini system all the way down to the root and then back up. And it activates like in what I guess the 24 hours or whatever it may be, but just like all at the same time, you know, referred to as the great solar flash. And,
okay. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And things like that. So, so basically just like everyone is going to wake up to their godliness.
Please.
I know, right?
Yeah. I love that analogy. I've been using that a lot. It's like, you're God, you're God, you're God, you're God. Oh my God, even you're God. Like, whoa, we're all these little, and it's just seeing it. So please, yes, solar flash.
Yeah, exactly, right?
come activate us.
Right. We are welcoming you.
Ready.
Yeah. It's beautiful though to even, like, I'm just grateful for where I am in this here and now, like regardless, you know, like even if we go through the 21st and it's just another day and we're just continuing to build energies and, you know, nothing quote unquote major happens, regardless, like I'm grateful for where we are. I'm grateful to see all of the awakenings that are happening around me, like every single day. And for my awakening, like I was in the shower yesterday morning and I was watching on the plastic part of the shower curtain, I was watching all of the waters drip down, and I was like, oh my God, that's me. Like, it was just this really beautiful moment where I was like looking at this water drop, and I'm like, you're me and I'm you.
Yes.
And it was just
water lately. It's like the codes and the consciousness of water.
I know.
Has just, and obviously our waters within us, those, if there is a flash or if there isn't, like you said, but there are sensitives like us that are going to hold that internal knowing, and the waters will remember. And when people are ready, they're going to turn on.
Right.
Quick. And, even just using our imagination to.
Oh, our imagination is the key. Like, it is the key. That is in my course that I teach. Like, all of the exercises, like the whenever I taught it last year, I literally had students that were like, but what if I'm just like making this up? And I'm like, no. And I was like, your imagination, that right there, that is the key. That is the portal to all the expansiveness. That's why they turn down your imagination and want you to keep it in this box and just think about this, and this and that. Don't think all of that big. Don't wonder about unicorns and all of fairies and all this.
Right. Just think like this, like the box we give you. It's like, no, I'm going to go with Einstein. He said imagination is more important than knowledge.
Right. So. But yeah, I love the idea of like just. What?
Oh, massive alchemical crow just flew up on my roof.
Nice.
Doesn't happen that often over here.
Yeah, and counting crows is totally a thing. Was it just one?
Two. One was, but one was like right by the window, like just full wingspan.
Oh my gosh, it's so wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, I love all of the confirmations and signs, and I'm really getting like, even whenever we connected with the card pull, you said the grounded, like I'm really, really getting grounded. But yeah, I'm getting super grounded in my truth, in who I am, acceptance of that, allowing it to be as it is. And I feel like that's I feel like, in my opinion, a collective theme. Like, especially with light workers and starseeds, like they are really, you have to anchor right now.
One of my teachers used to tell me that, Nikki, the deeper that you root, the deeper that you go, the higher that you will fly. And that has like always stuck with me. And sometimes, dude, it's not easy when you're flying in the vortex, like to remind like, oh, let me ground this in. Let me slow down. Let me really savor this life. 'Cause, man.
Well, and that reminds me of like a tree or like a plant, like the roots, however, like, how your plant is growing by, like, if it doesn't have that many leaves or that many stems, it's because the roots aren't strong. And so that analogy is amazing. Thank you for sharing that, because it, like, literally the visual I got is just like the wider and further that my roots are grounded, the wider and further I can grow outwards up into the higher realms, into the cosmic spaces. And yeah, there's a long time, probably a solid year, where I was just not grounded at all. Like, I was like floating in the mists of bliss, which was great, but I was not grounded at all. And the universe shook me into grounding. Like, it kept reinforcing that I needed to get grounded for like, it was probably about 2 or 3 months. And I kept like looking in the way and being like, but I just love my bliss. I'm going to stay in bliss, And I got pulled down real quick, real fast, and really got had to. I had to. Like it was not really, I don't want to say not by choice, because all of my life is by choice, but it was definitely a higher force.
It was a lesson.
Yeah.
You know, us going through those high flying moments, I really believe that we had to have those experiences so that as we go forward and learn to ground and fly at the same time, and in between that, our life moves, we also are able to hold that space and that non-judgment and not try to ground the newcomers or the people that are flying and they're like, whoa, oh my God, like everything. We can be like so loving and compassionate towards them and not try to like force them back into their body or whatever. It's just like, okay, I know what you're doing. I know where you're at right now. I'll be here when you're ready to come back into the space or whatever. But yeah, we have to go through those experiences so that we can be a better assistance as this ascension process unfolds even more.
Right.
And more people are going to have these flighty kundalini awakenings that, they can be wild.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're just prepared.
Yeah. Just a little experience under my belt. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Been there a few times.
Yeah.
So wonderful. Yeah. Unfortunately, as sad as it is to say, it is the truth that the grounding force was actually, was someone that didn't appreciate, like how you were saying, holding that space for that bliss and being like, I'm here when you're ready to come down. He was literally like, you're not grounded. I have to ground you because you're not grounded. And I was like, dude, but I just went through an awakening. Like, just give me a little while to like do my thing, you know? And, and
that's something I've been learning a lot about this year is as I go deeper into like wanting that sacred relationship, but also really wanting the freedom as well to continue to fly. It's like we have to learn the masculine and feminine differences and polarities. And what it felt like when you were talking about that was like he just wasn't evolved or mature enough to let your feminine essence do her damn thing while he holds that anchor. Right. And, you know, and appreciates and uplifts. But that's why I think it's so like going forward, like the men are going through such a huge sort of kick in the ass transformation right now to, you know, really step into their divine sacred masculine because, you know,
because there's a difference and they've been taught toxic masculinity, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's the rise of the divine feminine too. So it's like, they're like, whoa, you know, like balancing that out. It is a lot that our divine.
It's a freaking lot.
Yeah.
And it's work and it's going to take some practice and playfulness. And that's why I feel one of my biggest purposes on this planet is to start to teach people some of the non-judgment tools that I have gained through the last 8 years of working with teachers and mentors that really understood the psychology around judgment and the cycle of that and guilt and shame. Like you can't like make someone feel shameful about being in their feminine, flighty emotions and feelings. Right. It's like that just doesn't work. I mean, it works for a lower aspect, but we're talking about evolving into Christ consciousness, new earth, code, reality. Right. So having that non-judgment, I think is going to be so important going forward. And a lot of people just don't understand that. How do I not judge? It's like, oh, I got some deep shit to share.
Let me tell you.
But it's simple. And that's yeah.
Oh, and all of it. Like, thank you for saying that, because it is all so simple. Just like we were saying, like full circle, coming back around to the little things. It's like we really, because of our programming, overcomplicate it. It's all super simple. Like manifestation, super simple. Just feel it. Just actually feel it. Like, don't lie to yourself. Like, really feel it. And if you don't feel it, then like be okay with that, you know? And then get closer to what you can feel, you know?
Try to rise on that scale.
Right, exactly. And and like, you know, practices and you know, attaining enlightenment or building towards that is just all these a million small practices. It is all so simple. Like, it's so much more simple, and we really have been programmed to overcomplicate it all. So we're overcomplicating Christ consciousness. Like, that's
why, full circle, like just being aware in every moment, like how you're feeling and how you're treating yourself, and
then taking it a step further and being honest about it too. That's what I have been really going through the last, I would say, like 2 or 3 months, is like, I've been really good about identifying how I feel and knowing how I feel, but then having the courage and the vulnerability to express that. Like last night is a great example. I was on that integration call with my girls, and they said, like one of them was like, oh, I would really love, you know, and part of the retreat package was that they got the preparatory call before, because I think that that's important to start preparing your energy, and let's all do it together. Yeah. And then the same thing with the integration call. We're all integrating these energies. Let's do it together. And one of the girls was like, oh, I would love to do these calls every week, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And as much as I would love to do that too, there was like in my stomach, I was like, that feels so overwhelming to have a call scheduled every single week with a group of 10 girls that I'm leading. Like, that just sounds like a lot.
And you hit something so important right there. You said something, I felt it in my gut, like, oh. And that has been a really strong message coming up, is trust the body. Trust the body. The body is like your lie detector. And if we could just use that simple tool, like, it's life-changing.
Yeah, which once again goes back to why I teach my course. That is your intuition. That is literally your intuition saying,
and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Right.
And that's a whole nother subject.
But being honest, you know, in that moment, it was hard for me. Of course, I want to be like, oh, that would be so great. Let's do that. Absolutely. You know, but immediately I was like, that sounds like I'm never going to have time for my family. That sounds like I'm not going to have time for all of the other things, like the podcasts and my live card pulls and all the other things I'm trying to provide. I also have
that bring you joy.
Yes, exactly. And just even for myself, I was just like, that feels in my body. Like I said, like in my gut, I was like, that feels overwhelming. And so I did my best to like meet them somewhere so that way we could continue building this connection and building this group. But I had to be real with myself and be authentic and be honest. So it is, one, having awareness of how you feel, but then two, living it and trusting it, you know, and not ignoring yourself and your needs and your body and what your pulls are in order to satisfy anything outside of yourself.
Radical ownership.
Yeah.
Radical ownership.
Serious responsibility. Yes, absolutely. It's so important right now, though. It's so important. It's like, to me, it's the avenue of stepping into your sovereignty and stepping into your power and really, you know, owning that, like, I do march to my own drum and I'm okay with that because I really trust this drum. When it beats, I trust it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much, dear. This has been wonderful. Is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with? Is there any, like, you know, message or tips or anything that you feel like would be important for the collective right now?
Yeah, just coming full circle to the alchemy, the alchemical state. It's like the only way to create alchemy within us, within our hearts, within our minds, is to be honest about how we are actually feeling in every now moment. And just become like a radical acceptor of who you are and what you're feeling, and let go of all the judgments around, not being enough or not doing enough. No, you are enough. Just by being here at this time on this planet, you are enough. And you came here with a unique mission, and that might just be to be a mother, or to be a farmer, or a cook, or, a really great lover. Just radically own that you are amazing. And yeah, and just follow your bliss. I know it's simple, but really that's such a key. Mm-hmm. And that's worked out in my life. Like, just follow what brings you joy. Mm-hmm. Don't listen to the outside world. Like, really tap into your own heart and go with it. Because when you trust that inner voice, it will show you like such profound, beautiful experiences that they're not meant for anyone else. They're meant for you. And right. It's like one day you might share that and inspire the next generation to do the same thing. But yeah, for now, follow your bliss. And I really want to pull an oracle card or something.
Yeah, do it. Do it up. Okay. I love what you said. And that's exactly why I teach those classes, because that inner voice is the key to accessing yourself and your truth. And that is what's going to help the trusting that, following that bliss, following that voice, trusting it. That is what I really believe is going to help the collective massively. The more people that really start doing that and taking it seriously.
Yep. And not too seriously.
Yeah. But at the same time, a balance between the two. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. I wish that everyone could see these amazing cards. They're Beyond Lemuria. And the first card that flipped out was the Violet Flame, which...
Transmutation.
Dude. And then, so that's maybe that's like a little tool that Spirit can leave us all with as we go forward into this next timeline of 2021. Imagination, using that violet flame to surround yourself, like if something's like really, really upsetting you or putting you into a state of fear, or, the family's chaos, just imagine a violet flame. There is something very alchemical about that. And it works. I've used it so many times in my journey. So, a little gift from Spirit.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Just start shooting violet flames out your arms, out your hands, out your heart. And then the next card that came out was Transformation.
Oh my gosh, so perfect.
So we are definitely in a transforming time. Mm-hmm. So just like the caterpillar, going into that cocoon, it's freaking chaos in there. Like,
covered in gook.
Some crazy magic happens and a butterfly comes out. It's like, really? Whoa. It's so, look at nature, be with nature. And we'll definitely start to understand everything better.
Awesome. Thank you so much, sister. I'm so appreciative for having you here. And also for our listeners, what's the best place for them to find you, to connect with you and follow you in your journey?
Come on to Instagram at One Cosmic Love, ONE Cosmic Love.
Okay, I'll drop the link too in the show notes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, join the tribe. We have like a little tribe building, and I post readings on there and intuitive guidance, funny stuff. Whatever raises the vibe, and sometimes being brutally honest. So come connect.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much for being here. I love you too, dear. I love you to pieces. All right, thank you guys.
Beautiful work.
Yeah, you too. Thank you guys so much for joining us today, and many blessings, so much love, and namaste. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed that episode. Please subscribe, leave a review, and if this was impactful for you at all, please share it with others. This is how we can help each other. Much love and namaste.